So I am Moyoluwa Adeyemi. For those who have wanted the full spelling, it's not just M-Y-I-N, Moyoluwa Adeyemi. And I'm an Android developer at Upgrade Electric, now Solar Electric. So if you've heard of the solar startup in Tanzania, or Rwanda, or Cote d'Ivoire, or Ghana, or Nigeria, yes, that's us. And today I'm going to take you through the journey of how we've been able to support online and offline applications, and how that has helped our workforce. But first, here's some context. Our goal at Upgrade Now Solar is to provide clean energy to rural off-grid areas in Africa, and we are trying to do that at an affordable price. So today we are going to look at 3 areas. The challenges we face. I believe that every Android developer has unique challenges they face in whether you are building apps for fun or you are building apps for your day job. And I'm going to talk about the architecture we decided to use as a result of that, and the third-party libraries we use. And I hope that regardless of whatever third-party libraries you currently use in your applications, at the end of this talk, you'll be able to reevaluate those decisions and decide, based on the use cases of your applications, whether or not you're on the right path or whether or not you should switch and consider something better. So I'm going to start with some of the challenges that helped frame our decisions. So our first challenge is that we work in very remote areas. This right here is a screenshot of a map of one of our locations of a region in Tanzania where we have customers. As you can see, there is nothing on the map. So if we were thinking of creating an application which had turn-by-turn directions, this obviously would not be possible. So we even thought about offline third-party map solutions, but then that made our users have to download like a large amount of data. So finally, based on all of these constraints, we decided to remove this functionality from our app for now. Next, I'll group communication and making assumptions together as a very major issue. We used to assume that people would have access to Wi-Fi once a day. So if we were like, okay, if you go out into the field and there's no internet, you would at least have access to internet once a day. Like, that's a basic human right? Basic human right, access to Wi-Fi. But that turned out not to be the case. We also assume that users will have location services enabled on their devices. Wait, show of hands, if you've ever turned off your location to save data on your phone, please, can I see your hands up? Perfect. So I'm talking to the right set of people. So of course, we needed location to work well in our app. We needed internet to work well in our app, and those two turned out to be huge constraints. So we had to make design decisions and make our architecture scale those challenges. And there were many more examples like this. In this picture, it's a group of our sales officers like going to sell our products, and they're trying to see if they can get a 2G connection on their phone to complete their sales. The sun is also one of our challenges. Sometimes you notice that if you're outside, because of the intensity of the sun, you open some applications and you don't see anything. And that used to be us, because we never used to consider like the design issues, like how to design screens that still displayed like irrespective of how intense the sun is. You know, there's a way you can design your applications such that you make sure that they, at least to an extent, they still show something even when the sun is high, because usually the screen is very dark, if any of us have experienced that before. And that's not even an internet issue. So all these challenges ended up shaping our design decisions and what our app turned out to be today. And if you compare this to Washington, D.C., where my team lead works, this is like a map filled with 4G light connectivity. And this pushed us to, because of these challenges, this pushed us to be even more conscious of what we access and when we access them. Now, with these challenges in mind, let's take a walk through the architecture we used in many of these areas, for many of these issues. We'll talk about the architecture of the application and our goals. So our main aim was to be useful to our users, regardless of their network conditions. I'm sure you've seen many applications with endless spinning progress bars, like loading, and after a while you just like stop the connection yourself because you're tired of waiting. Yet our goal was to allow users to still see information, still receive feedback for their actions, even when they are offline, and then still take actions. Therefore, we stuck with the following tenets. We aim to store data locally, separate UI and network requests, and queue requests.